You know, it's easy to say that there's not a lot new and exciting in accounting and ERP software and information systems. And the reality is, from a functional perspective, they all still do accounts payable and receivables and purchasing and inventory and all this good stuff. But what's happened actually is some pretty unique developments with technology advancing so fast, both for persons, like our own personal computing, and also what's happening on the web. So I want to touch on a few specific things that have been happening both in function and process that are at least catching our eye as something that's kind of fun and different. First off, the process that's changing is a lot of people are actually outsourcing not just their general ledger and payables, but their entire accounting systems overall. That may seem a little scary to some of you, particularly if you enjoyed, overseeing the process. But people are taking their entire departments and outsourcing them to a variety of different professional firms that handle nothing but accounts payable, general ledger, cash receipts, the whole thing, invoicing, customer support, you name it. So that's one of them. Also, some really nice new workflow tools have been developed. What does workflow tool mean? Well, these are basically ways for system to do more than just take your information and process it. System kind of works with you in a workflow that says, okay, you've entered that accounts payable set of vouchers. Before we go ahead and post that, let's make sure we send a notification to the AP supervisor so they can actually go, okay, I'm all right with that. And then it goes ahead and gets posted to the accounts payable ledger so that you can pay your bills. Another example, workflow tools that are really coming out nicely are what we call exception management warnings, okay? Where that means if something looks strange, if you say, my inventory levels are changing and every time it's a little bit more than such and such difference between now and last year, or this particular product versus that particular product, I want a little flag to kind of tell me that, you know what, there's this little problem happening over here. We're overstocked over here. So you essentially set triggers based on instances of data in your information systems that tell you when something's going on. Okay? And lastly, and we see this a lot in accounting systems, particularly in large organizations with lots of journal entries going on, the whole idea of just doing approvals and giving people notification that something's ready for someone to just take a look at, whether it's a GL entry or, frankly, in a lot of cases in a large organization, that might be a purchase requisition. So these sorts of things are helping systems talk to you before you have to go talk to it first, or remember to talk. So that's another area. Also, screen real estate. That's the phraseology in the industry, but what it really means is accounting systems just look, particularly the newer ones, a whole lot better than they used to. We all use Outlook. Many people use Facebook. People are on the websites, all kinds of things all day long. Accounting systems are trying really, really hard right now to move themselves into a bit more of a look and feel that feels like what you're used to using outside of work or in your more frequent use of something like an Outlook program. So your email program has a certain look. That's where you're comfortable. That's where you spend a lot of time. People know that. And so the accounting systems are going in that direction also. Accounting systems also tend to focus a little bit now on role-focused screens and role-focused processes. So for example, if you're an accounts payable clerk, you might have a certain thing when you turn on your computer in the day and you launch the application. Your processes are all laid out for you in front of you. So when you're going to be doing voucher entry, it's the first thing on your screen. If you're going to be dealing with other sorts of things like, reviewing for which checks to cut, that'll be on your screen as well. You're not going to be asking or being shown a lot of the things like running financial statements or, balancing inventory balances or things like that. You're just going to focus on what's been given to you in your world that really helps you process things. So you have less to focus on, less to worry about, essentially, and less to get confused by in what's usually a complex system, and just focus on your world and have your world delivered to you. Application program interchanges or interfaces. These are called APIs for short. They've become much, much more effective and actually much more of a standard operating procedure for most applications because software has to work with other software. Data has to be exchanged all the time. And really, the better that the software publisher does at providing what's called an API, which I mentioned earlier, as a tool to help exchange information in and out of their system with other systems, the more you're going to want to use their software and incorporate it with other things that it works well with, because not every software can do everything you need. As we all know, being able to actually play in the same sandbox effectively without having to pay for programmers in between, to write code just to make sure that our software plays well with this software over here is certainly a lot better. So the tool sets available from vendors now are much, much more capable than they used to be and much more easy to use. Another area that's important is what we call ad hoc reporting. These are things where it may not just be financials. It might be information that you're looking to gather, like, what was our head count last week? Or how many square feet are we running in, our multiple stores, and how are our sales per square foot running? These sorts of things. Those are ad hoc reports that you might want to come up with as just being an analyst and determine what's on your plate and how can I best communicate to my organization what I need. The tools now available are much, much easier to use, where you don't have to pick up the phone and call the IT department and say, I need a report done that's going to take 3 weeks to create for you. Okay, so just be a little relieved on that. Also, Excel. The use of Excel actually goes both ways. What's interesting is some of the ERP applications out there are starting to use Excel as their main reporting tool because people just in the financial world, as many of you probably know, use Excel for lots of different analyses and financial reporting and all kinds of different presentations for boards and that sort of thing. What they're doing is they're saying, all right, we're going to take our data and we're going to make sure that we don't just spit information out. Okay, we're going to make sure it's put into the templates that you like, so you could theoretically create your template in a way that you like to present your information and attach to each cell various information from your accounting system so that it's fed it on a regular basis. It's not that simple per se, but think about the fact that you can create what you want to have your look and feel in Excel the way you like it, and have the system feed the data to you when you're ready. Okay, so it's almost like a plug-in in Excel, becoming very, very common. In the reverse direction, though, what some of the applications have done, and these are some of the more sophisticated products out there, is they've decided, we know people like to take Excel and go do different things. They're saying, you don't always need to go to Excel and take data out. Okay, maybe it's better that we keep the data here and help you look at it as though Excel is in our software. And in fact, some of them make it look like Excel is in their software. People are creating tools that have allowed people to look at in their screens, in their accounting systems, things that look and feel and operate like pivot tables that are not Excel. So the idea would be to, look at your information through whatever best way your system will allow you to, but just know that Excel is either going to be much more emphasized these days, but in a really nice way, or it may be a little less emphasized also in a nice way, depending on the software that you're looking at. One of the largest software vendors out there right now has put a huge amount of investment into almost like a social community, or almost a social networking oriented feel to some of the things that they do, so that people who use the accounting software or their ERP software can talk to each other and interact with each other in a way that feels and looks a lot like something like Facebook or even something like LinkedIn. Group chats, all kinds of different information, different forums, different offside comments, all kinds of different things are managed through this social community looking and feeling area that's really just part of a big ERP or accounting system. So that was never here 10 years ago. Also, search tools. It's been interesting to see when you're using a system of any kind, of course, that you can find what you're looking for quickly. Well, accounting systems have figured out ways, the publishers, to say, let's give people more of a Google-like feel. So search engine capability within a accounting application, whether you're looking for maybe a vendor or everything about a vendor, or a customer, everything about them, or even an inventory item. Sometimes the search results can be given to you in some of these applications in a way that you're used to using for Google or Yahoo or whatever you use for your search engine. So appreciate the fact that these vendors are trying to bring to you things you do in other applications as something you can comfortably do in theirs. Much, much easier. And lastly, I think we'll focus on the one that I know is really near and dear to the CGMA, and that would be dashboards and business intelligence. There is so much going on right now to deliver really meaningful key performance indicators and other measurements through the use of dashboards, which are really screens that have charts, graphs, statistics, and that sort of thing that matter most to you. These dashboards used to not always be what we call configurable. Back to the configurable concept we shared earlier, it really comes down to allowing you to say, you know what, in this graph, I'd like to look at these things, and I want it about this big on a screen that big. And you can do these kinds of things. You can mix and match. You can also get report summaries put onto your dashboard, which if you want to drill into, suddenly you get a much bigger version of it. Same thing with your charts and graphs. They become much more interactive and much more customizable or configurable to the user for what they're trying to look at. There might be a dashboard for the sales executive that's very, very different than a dashboard for the production manager, for example. Lastly, there's another area that really is the more exciting thing of late, and that is that business intelligence software, which has to do with more financial planning and analysis, like budgeting and looking at a variety of different performance trends and that sort of thing, that's all being embedded more closely, if not integrated very, very tightly, with many different accounting applications. It's a very high growth area, and it's also a very exciting area because it allows us to do more of the business analysis we want to do from the information that's coming from our accounting information systems, almost as though they're in the same place. Okay? For years, we had to worry about a business intelligence application over here somewhere and our accounting and information systems over here. Particularly if you're a smaller company, you don't have the opportunity to buy these more robust tools that sometimes already had it like this. Now it's actually available at the lower price points for smaller companies to have both in one. It's going to allow us to, in any size company now, have a lot better opportunity to manage and really look at our data.